Greetings, rise and shine, brethren. We are the World Global Reset Restoration Network family, comprised of 198 sovereign nations with over 7 billion sovereign principles, being of one mind, one heart, and one spirit, walking together under the divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I come to you as a voice in the wilderness to introduce to you a man. No, not just any man, but a man sent by Yah Allah to redeem mankind. Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson, the Adak Chief Justice of the Universal World Court, and who's also known as Yehoshua Mashiach, the Son of Man. The information that you will be receiving in this and other videos you won't get from anywhere else on the planet. Hear the many truths and fulfillment of the laws, judgments, and sentencings from our Creator, Father Yah, as well as the fulfillment of the true interpretation of the Holy Scriptures and books. Now, without further ado, Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson with his beloved host, Shelley Bowling.
Well, this is the information that they need to understand. And like I said, you are dealing with some people who have been taught in the reverse. It's a reverse. They don't realize that Africa came from America, not America coming from Africa.
Right.
But they're taught they came from Africa. So whenever you done taught some people all their lives that they came from Africa, surely they gonna think that that's who they are, African Americans, rather than thinking that they're Americans who were taken to Africa at some point in time. That is the biggest misconception that we have on this whole planet right now. And because one person wrote a book saying out of Africa and another guy came out saying we're not out of Africa, everybody got upset with the one that said we're not out of Africa, and we're not. Africa is out here. Even the Africans, most of them will get upset with you when you say you came from there because they know you didn't.
Right.
And there's other ones that they like riding up on that history that all black folk, all dark-skinned people, all melanated people came from Africa. And that is the biggest, that is, if we might call it that, we just go out on it. That is the greatest destruction that could have ever happened to any people anywhere. We didn't come from Africa. Africa came from here. This is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of Canaan, not Africa. When those people look at you, they understand that you're lost based upon your own history and understanding. They don't mind accepting it because they believe that if they be the people that you came from, then they will be considered to be the people of the one descent. They will be considered the people of what? Yah's people, God's people, which is not true because they came from God's people. They came from God's world, and that's right here where we at. We are those people of the one descent. We are those people of the true blood. We are. And this is why now when they talk about paying the Native Americans or paying the natives off or paying the indigenous people off, yeah, anyone would want to claim that heritage. But that heritage has already been claimed. And it was done. And it is 10 years non-contested. It has been proven. That is the Melchizedek's trust. It has already been proven. It has already been claimed. The true heritage of the world, of the one descent, it has already been proven. So we don't have to sit back and defend a lie. We just sit back on the truth. We keep telling everybody we don't have to defend ourselves. We don't have to come to you and tell you that we are the indigenous people, and without us that you don't exist. We don't have to do that, because true documentation cuts out all false conversation. They also are looking at you as serious as saying, you must realize that people did not come from Africa. They came from the United States, which is known as the land of Canaan. They left there and they went into Africa. So you need to understand that we already know we did not come from Africa. Africa came from us. We built up Africa. We made all of those huge nations over there. When I say we, most of the people that did that, they did that for destruction of the melanated people rather than for the building up of the melanated people. They sent them there to die. Most of the area that they found there was, well, that's just like it is now. It was just what it was, deserted, desert, no water. The land was too dry. You couldn't do a whole lot of planting and cropping there. That wasn't a whole lot of water except for if you would get close to that one in which they call the Nile River, which was actually Nile River, started out being in America, the Red River. So this is what they did. And now you're under that same impression that Africa started the world. That's myth. They sold it to you well and you bought it hook, line, and sinker. And you need to come away from it. You need to understand that America, again, was the land of Canaan, and it started all nations. Those melanated people started out in the United States of America. That's what they call it this day. The land of Canaan. The land that flows with milk and honey. The land that you can find oil and everything else rich in it. You can find the richest soil there. You can find the most fertile soil there. You can find salt and fresh water there. Half the people walk out into freshwater streams in the back of their house. That is the land that flows with milk and honey, known as the land of Canaan. For all the nations in Africa, and I'm calling you nations because that's the way you look at yourself, but you're only one continent. You have many states. You have states. Sudan, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria. All you guys are just states. I mean all over Africa. You're only a state. And I need you to realize that now, in the universal, at the world court level where I'm sitting, they're trying to get a lot of confusion going by letting you guys believe that y'all are the indigenous people. That is a lie. We are not going to even fight about it because right now, at this office, there is a legal document that shows and states who the indigenous people are according to their DNA and according to the history of this world. It's already been done. We don't need anybody to prove anything. It's been proven. It's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It has lawfully been proven beyond any reasonable doubt. And it has also heavily been proven beyond any reasonable doubt. So no, the people did not come from Africa. They came from a land that was called Canaan. That land is in the United States of America. Those people have never left that land. They will never leave that land. It's their land. And they have, since that time, built everything around them. They built from the inside out, like building the pyramid. They built from the inside out rather than from the outside in. So this is the understanding that you must have. You also will be taken care of. There is no doubt. So you as well will be given a DNA, RNA test. This is some things that the world now needs to be aware of and understand, because we got a lot of people coming to us and saying, well, I think the people that are in the middle of Africa, we don't need that. We already know who they are. We've already tested people. We already know who they are. We know exactly who the indigenous people. We know who those people of the covenant of salt. We know who all 12 tribes are. We know who they all are. So we're not questioning. We don't need everybody's historical knowledge of what they just learned yesterday. We already know the truth. We're dealing with the truth. John 17, verses 14, 15, 16, and 17. We're dealing with the truth. We have no opponents. We have no competition. No. Why do we not have that? Because that which we speak out of our mouth is true. That means it can be proven, documented, and it can also be given a blood sample that this is true. This is what everyone needs to understand. No questions anymore. All answers. The thing for the United Nations to know right now is very, very crucial, and it's important. The reason I'm saying that is because our brothers and sisters, and I do believe they're all of our brothers and sisters, no matter where we may be at. I'm talking about my brothers and sisters that are in something that is known as Africa. And I've said this in several talks that I've done before, and this is not an attack upon my African brothers and sisters. This is to let them understand and understand that the trick that was perpetrated on those that were in what we know it to be Canaan, the land of Canaan. The same perpetration that was set toward them was set toward you. Again, you're dealing with a group that found some weakness within you. And they began to tell you that you were the leader that once upon a time, and you were the ones that controlled the world and all. That was all a lie. They know that you were part of those who were the strong bodies of the world, and what they did was they twisted. And they only do this every so often. They did it with the Native Americans, and which they knew were Indian Americans, which were not the same people. They knew that the Native America was those that was born on that land, and they were first on that land to begin with. Those were the natives. Those were the dark-skinned people. And then they came along with the ones they started calling them Native Americans, which were Indian Americans, which they knew they were incorporated on that land based upon being married into a family, coming from another land far off. Persians. They began to start calling them Aztecs. From Aztecs to Indians. From Indians, they began to call them Mexicans. So they already know, and each time so forth that the United States have tried to incorporate this royal blood, that they might find some weaker group of people and perpetrate what they have perpetrated in the past on those group of people, is not working anymore. So United Nations, my brothers and sisters in Africa, you need to understand that you're only a body. You're part of the main. You're a piece of the whole. But you are not the beginning force of it. And that has been told to you that was a lie. I'm not trying to get you to change anything that you believe. What I'm giving you is the truth. You keep it just the way you think. At the end of the day, I would tell you the results are going to be the same. Those that were the true royal family of this God-given land will be those royal families of this God-given land, even when you believe that the end is coming and the new beginning surface. he'll be in charge. The people must come together to work together for the good of the universe. What people are we talking about? We're talking about the people of righteous. The people that are classified to be of the righteous, they will know themselves. For righteousness is not just a word, but it's a way of life. Just as all of the would-be nationalities, of races, of those ethnicities, of different bodies of people on the planet are all a way of life. It's just not something in which you classify yourself or place yourself on some register of membership, or even consider yourself to be of some would-be so-called blood type, which you yourself have never been truly tested for. And perhaps many of you have used the ancestral.com, where you've been able to send in your would-be so-called blood, where they themselves tested it, but you had no ability to be able to reckon or realize whether they was testing you by any form that would have been conclusive, based upon truth. And whereby now, many of you are walking around with the belief that you come out of a certain would-be tribe, or even a group of people, which you yourself have no true clue. And I can assure you that 95% of you that receive your test back, you receive a false test of faith. In other words, you was placed in groups in accordance to what those that were classified as the enemies wanted you to be in. Right now, the U.S. of A. just so happens to be going around teaching those things in which they deem to be of an ancestral world of those in whom they deem to be the Native Americans. And at the same time, the United States of America already recognized that the true Native Americans that they themselves initially found there in that land when they first got there were not people of a red skin. They realized that those people had nothing to do with Scandinavians. They realized that the Scandinavians, along with those that are now classified as the so-called Native Americans of America, is nothing more than Scandinavians mixed with Africans. And those Scandinavians and those Africans neither were neither of the two the initial bodies of those that would have been classified as those in whom were in the land to be native or autochthonous to the land. That's a fact. Africans would have come in by way of the transatlantic trade, which they were being traded for the black folk or the melanated folks that were already in the land that were classified to be none other than either Hebrew Israelites or they were classified to be Canaanites. All of them were of dark skin, black, but none of them would have been classified as some Scandinavian mixed with African. And whereby now this is another thing in which is going through the United Nations now. For Africa, the African Front has begun to claim those individuals that are in the United States of America, and they're not African. None of them that were initially in the land were Africans. The Africans came by way of, just like everyone else did, trade or migrate to the land. But they were never the initial people of the autochthonous people or the indigenous people of that land. For all those people were known as Israelites, Hebrew Israelites at that. Hebrew would have been the origin of who they were. Israelites would have been the way of life in which they lived. This is something now which has been totally confused in the U.S. of A. For no one really realizes that a Jew is not an Israelite. A Jew is not a Hebrew. And this also is a false claim of nothing more than the orthodox, known as those orthodox, or those that will be classified as an anarchy Jew, or Anunnaki Jew, which is the same. Anarchy, Anunnaki Jew, they're the exact same people. And thereby, that's where you get the anarchs at. The anarchies that come to this land in which they classify the U.S. of A.